Everybody, this is Jeff Veale, the business guru, coming to you from downtown Manila, 10 a.m. in the morning. My next guest is once again from the United States. We get a lot of the people this week from the United States, and she's in Michigan, and it's the opposite time zone. She's been a very patient woman. We're having a bit of a chat. She's at 10 p.m. where she is. I'm having a look at her bio here. It's a pretty interesting bio. She's a very, very, very interesting woman. We've spent about 20 minutes already talking about life. We're talking about a lovely lady called Kim Snyder, aka Coach Kim, and she's got an awesome job. She's a licensed counselor turned parenting coach. Company name Epic Parenting Academy LLC. And she's been in the parenting industry she says here 17 years, but in fact, she's been in it most of her life, right? 17 years as a profession, I guess. Brief description: Epic Parenting Academy empowers parents to create healthy family environments to nurture emotionally intelligent children. And that can be a handful, guys. You know what? We all know, we all have our moments with our kids through one-on-one and group coaching, live parenting workshops, online parenting courses, and digital resources. Kim helps overwhelmed parents, and aren't we all, transform chaos into connections while honoring each child's unique development journey. And I was speaking to Kim earlier, I spoke to a previous guest, we're talking about how kids get to about 13 or 14 and they find themselves in the Bermuda Triangle for a while when they become teenagers. And they want to have an opinion. They're young adults, right? So, that's how life is, guys. Key achievements or projects distinguished as best family counselor. That's fantastic. From that unprecedented 11 consecutive years in our hometown. God almighty, Kim, what an achievement. That's fantastic. Handpicked by the family court and attorney judges to facilitate high conflict reunification therapy. Pioneered the revolutionary epic parenting method, representing the four pillars of parenting foundation, which is engaged, present, intentional, and consistent. There they are again, guys. Engaged, present, intentional, and consistent. Transform hundreds of families through my signature coaching methodology. You're a blessing, Kim. Personal motto or philosophy: behavior always has a reason. That's right. I want the lollies. That's why I'm acting up. When our focus is not the reason before the behavior, we get to the root cause where lasting change happens. The powerful perspective shifts parents from reactive disciplinary, I can't get that word out, to insightful guides, allowing them to address what children truly need rather than what they just want. Like I say, the kids act up. They want to watch TV or something, and you want them to do their homework. So there's going to be a winner and a loser here somewhere. And more often than not, the parents give up and say, "Oh, you can watch the show as long as you do your homework later or whatever." I've been there and done all that, guys. And the kids will play you off a break. Don't worry, guys. They'll play you off a break. I'll play you off a break. Interesting fact about herself: when not transforming family dynamics, I can be found strumming my guitar and singing. Fantastic. A creative outlet inspired by my mother, who was an amazing guitar player and singer. After my mum developed Alzheimer's and could no longer remember how to play, I made my personal mission to carry on my mother's musical legacy. However, currently it's more plunking than anything else. Well, that's a good starting point, right? So that's it. It's my great pleasure to welcome to the stage Coach Kim. How are you today, Kim? This evening, how are you?
I'm great. Great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I love some of your stories, Kim. Tim, let's get this show underway. Tell us about your journey. What inspired you to pursue your current career path and be such a giver in a world full of takers?
Well, I've been a licensed counselor for 16 years and spent a lot of time with parents of all kinds of issues. And then I started helping out with family courts, and some of those were high conflict. And that job was for reunification, right? Where parent child had been separated for whatever, right? Rarely was it military. It was usually some behavior of the parent that caused the break. But learning how to bring families back together was, it was empowering for me, and it was exhilarating to see what happens when that connection is reestablished. It's just, it's like that psychological pay of the heart, right? It was awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
But I just realized over the years that, you know what, parents don't really need a diagnosis, right? They needed tools and they needed strategies. And I believe that they needed an accountability partner, because as I'm going to teach a new skill, if I just teach it to you and you walk away and you're left on your own to figure out the little nuances and the tweaks and stuff, you'll just stop.
Yes.
Right. But I found that if I'm with you, not personally, right, but if I'm with you on a live call or whatever, we can talk about all these little tweaks, and right, because every family is unique, where overall it's the same, but there's little nuances. And so that's what actually spawned me to create the Epic Parenting Academy. And I believed it enough that I closed my private practice, because I wanted to focus on that. I wanted to focus on it because I know that when parents decide to have children, right, or a child happens, right,
Yes.
You have this immediate dream of how that relationship's going to be. Sometimes you even fantasize about what your kid might be when they're older.
Sure.
And by the time they're 2 or 3 years old, all of a sudden this dream that you thought has kind of turned into a nightmare. Not all families, right, but the ones that I help, right? Yeah. All of a sudden now this isn't what you signed up for. What is going on? And right, and so just to know that I can take any family and turn them, and of all of my counseling, I didn't see the kids. I didn't see the kids because children's behavior is what a parent allows them to do.
Absolutely.
And sometimes they allow them to do things that they probably shouldn't, right? Their parents are tired, they're exhausted, and they're tired of the fight, or they want to stop the whining, and all of those reactionary behaviors is really what starts to cause the problems in the house. And I'm not a punitive teacher, right? And you taught them to be really good over here. How about now we teach them to be really good over here? And right, it's a slow process, because they didn't get that way overnight. So the change isn't going to happen overnight.
Yeah, correct.
But when you have a happy house, when you have a happy house, it's amazing.
Big difference. What's been the most challenging aspect of your work, Kim, and how do you overcome that?
Well, I would say that there's actually probably a couple of things that are the biggest challenge. But I would say first off is that a lot of parents struggle with coming for help, because they believe if they need help, that they're a failure. And that is the farthest thing from the truth.
Sad.
To me, if you're seeking help, you are wanting to be the absolute best child, or best parent for your child.
Yeah, you're smart. If you want help, yep.
Well, what I think is interesting is if you wanted to be a plumber or an engineer or an airplane pilot or whatever, you don't have any questions at all about going to school, because you don't know that.
Correct.
But why all of a sudden to be a parent? You were not born with those skills.
No, there's no instruction.
Right? And unless you had an amazing parent, which a lot of parents struggle, but unless you were raised by parents that gave you some really good skills, right, as they're teaching you. And I would say over the years, we went from families that are all married to 50% divorce rate, at least here in the United States. And then you have parents that have drug addictions and abuse and all kinds of other things and the extended families are gone.
Yes.
Right. So now you have sometimes a lot of single parents trying to navigate and figure this out on their own.
And that's why
they don't
why they're at work, trying to work 16 hours a day to put food on the table.
Yes. So I would say that's the mindset shift, that, you know what, if you want to be really good at something, you go after and learn it. And I provide some great opportunities for them to do that. I'm
just thinking, Kim, it's probably not getting any better, is it? Because back in our day, mum could almost stay home and dad went to work and made the money. And mum was home being a mother, cooking the meals, doing the washing and whatever. Well, now it's almost compulsory that both parents go to work just to keep a roof over their head, right?
Well, what I think the difference in when I was a working mom,
Yeah.
the career that I had allowed me to pay a daycare bill that was
Yes.
reasonable. The daycare bills now are so
Out of
out
control.
of control. I don't even know how some parents are even able to go to work and pay
I'm
that
sure
huge
that
debt.
we got a term in Australia, latchkey kid. I'm sure a lot of people just give the kid the key, say, you go home from school at 4 o'clock. I'll see you tonight at 9 o'clock. You know, and there's a
Yeah.
packet of cookies in the cupboard or something. You know, I bet it's not
Yeah.
supposed to be like that, but I'm sure a lot of that goes on. Kim, in your opinion, what are the key qualities or skills that you believe have contributed to your screen success over all these years?
But I'm going to say empathy,
You took the words
being
out
a
of my
good
mouth.
listener,
Yeah, you're a great listener. You're a great
being a
listener.
good listener.
Yeah.
Right. And I think one of the key things that I actually teach is learning to listen to understand. And I think that this is a problem for most people, is that we listen long enough until we disagree with what you're saying. We
Yes.
listen long enough until we don't like it. And all of a sudden now we stop. Right.
Yes.
But what's interesting is that if I can listen to you to understand you,
That's right.
not whether or not I agree or disagree or
Yeah.
like it,
Yeah.
what starts to happen is, as an example, if I'm listening to you and I don't agree with what you're saying, but I want to understand why you're saying it. If my disagreement fuel is this high,
Yes.
once I have listened to your story,
Coming down.
right, and oh, that's why. But all of a sudden now that those emotions get eradicated, and we miss that, I think, in the way that we communicate with each other. And that is for sure happens to parent child, because the parent feels like, oh, I don't like what you're saying, I need to correct you. And you don't even know why. If you're correcting before you even know why, you've missed the root, right? And that's where change happens.
I've got to tell a little story. This came to into my world about 20 years ago. I've never forgotten it. There's a man on a train, and he's got 4 kids, right? And he's sitting on the train. All of a sudden, the kids, being kids, are running around, screaming, banging things, and and he's paying no attention. He's just gazing off into space, right? And all the crowd are sort of anti this man, like, what the hell, man? Hey, and then they pull him up. Hey, why don't you shut these kids up? Why don't you look after your kids? And he looks at them blankly and just says, oh, gee, I'm so sorry. I've just come from the hospital where their mother died, and I don't have the heart to stop them from enjoying themselves. Imagine how that would change his perspective.
Yes,
Pretty
indeed.
cool, huh?
Absolutely.
And I thought that was a
Yep.
great story. It really brought home what you were just
Yes.
talking about. Precisely.
Yes.
Right, precisely. Listen to what the issue is, right?
Yes.
Tim, you're a great motivator yourself. How do you stay motivated, continue to innovate in your field, and learn more about what you do? How do you do all that?
Well, personally, I think that um, I am motivated when I see change happen, right?
Yes,
Because I know from years of doing this,
you can
I'm
see
not
it
really
coming.
sure who feels better, right?
Yeah,
I'm not sure if I feel better or the client feels better, because I
that's
know
fantastic.
what happens when you eradicate the chaos in your house and the
Yes,
stress, right? Because a stressed parent just really isn't the best parent. And it's not even the best employee either when you're
yeah, that's right.
stressed. And you bring that home, right?
Yeah,
I remember I was speaking once about work-life balance, and I'm like, no, don't even say balance, because that implies something that's equal.
yes.
And they're not, work and life are not two separate things. I mean, they are integrated.
They've got to be
And
combined.
that's what I say, what is the work-life integration,
Yeah,
right? And you got to be able to balance that.
you're the one of the most balanced people I've ever met. Honestly, God, Kim. Tell us a recent project or achievement you're particularly proud of, Kim. And you've got many of them, no doubt. But tell us this little story about a recent one.
So this one I think is probably one of my funnest ones. And that is most parents who come to me one of their biggest pet peeves is, why can't my kids listen to me? Why don't they listen? It drives me crazy. And so the reality is that when a child doesn't listen, it isn't necessarily defiance at all, but there are actually several things that are underneath the surface that causes them not to listen, right? And so I created this 2-minute quiz that if you struggle with that, if your kids aren't listening, here's a 2-minute quiz. Take this quiz and you will find, right? You're going to find what some of these reasons are. And you don't just get that. I actually give you all the information that you need to go fix those things. And that has been a lot of fun. I've gotten some great responses from parents who have taken the quiz and have gone through the instructions for how to fix these things, right? And some of those things, like when you defined EPIC as being engaged, present, intentional, and consistent, they're really what I consider the 4 foundational pillars of parenting. And what I find is that if one of those are missing or just weak, you're going to start to experience pushback and defiance and backtalk and tantrums and this type of behavior, of which what I tried to teach in a coaching program isn't how to fix a tantrum, because this is really what happens. If one of these underlying things are missing or weak, and you go take a tantrum course, you're going to get this much help from it. And it's going to be temporary, because what's really broken is something that's under the surface. And that's what I teach you. And once you know that, now if you want to go take a tantrum course, man, you're going to get so much out of it. It's just that piece is so completely different.
Looking ahead, what are your goals and aspirations for the future?
This actually sounds kind of weird, but so I've been a speaker of MomCo groups, and here in the United States, MomCo groups are in a lot of different churches. And so I personally go to speak to moms. I love the personal interaction and the energy. In fact, that's probably where I get most of my clients from.
Yeah.
What I would love to do is to go into corporations and speak at like a lunch and learn or something like that, where I am speaking to parents.
Women's groups particularly.
Right. Well, the dads can use this too, but I will say that it's mostly moms that attend these kind of things.
Well, mum's got the responsibility, because dad's out at work making the bucks to keep the place going.
Well, if I'm at work, right, if I'm in corporations and I'm speaking to moms, they have dual jobs now, right? Because a lot of homes are dual income. But if I could help a mom or a dad, right, if I could help a parent eliminate some of the chaos that's happening at home, and I can remove the stress at home, guess what happens? It removes the stress at work too, because remember these things, right?
The whole relationship the whole thing.
Yes, everything works together. So for me personally, I would love to get into corporations to be able to speak to parents, because there's a benefit, because when the stress is gone at home, they don't bring it to work, and they're a more productive employee.
That's a lofty goal. Keep working on that. Tell me.
Thanks.
We're about to wrap it up now, but tell us, how can people watching this and our listeners, what's the best way to reach out and have a cup of coffee with you and see if you can help or put them on the right track? What's the best way?
So the easiest way is just to join my community. Can I give the email or the URL? It is VIP, very important parent, vip.epicparentingacademy.com.
Easy one.
That's the easiest way. And then inside there, you will have all the links that you need to go take a quiz, to call me, right? Everything is in there, but that's the easiest way.
And the good thing too, guys, I'll be putting this the whole idea of being on Stars on Spotlight. We put you across all the main social media channels, your Quora, your Reddits, and then across your Facebook groups, your LinkedIn's, and more importantly, YouTube, with all the social media links. So you'll see all these links here to Kim, and she's an awesome person to talk to, very friendly, very easy to talk to. If either of you are in a different state, different part of the world, ring her up and have a chat, and she may know someone or something, or tell you how to go about it. Right? You don't need to suffer in silence, guys. It's not no need for any of that. Right? It's about communication.
That's true.
And common sense. And to all people out there watching this, all the mothers out there coming up, happy Mother's Day to you all. And you're an awesome grandmother, Kim. And as we spoke about earlier, before we wrap it up, tell us a fun fact about yourself that most people don't know.
Well, I don't really know if it's all that fun, right? But well, I think that you had mentioned earlier about me playing a guitar, and
Yep.
well, if you actually watch me play, you would probably think that it's funny. And that, as I said, I think I do more plunking than I do playing, but I will get there. I will get there in time.
That's the one. It's a good outlet, isn't it? Good form of relaxation. Good form
Yes,
of therapy.
it is.
Kim,
Yes.
you've been an awesome guest. So I'm going to wrap it up for now. And thank you once again for being on the show. Much appreciated.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.